Shari here today, and I'm going to be making this fun Easter double slider surprise card. So I am using images from the Eggstra special Easter set as well as the Easter eggs from the Simply Celebrate Spring to decorate my card. I've already loaded my stamps into my mini MISTI here, and I'm just going to stamp those on some neenah Solar White cardstock in jet black ink because I'm going to be doing Copic coloring on these images. So I am going to do some super speedy Copic coloring. I didn't show all of it, but I wanted to show my little rabbits here. I decided that I wanted to color each of the rabbits slightly differently just to add some variety to the card. So I've got a warm gray bunny here, and I just used some very pale E00 and E000 for his belly just to give him a little bit of color. And now I'm going in with some light browns to kind of make a creamy rabbit on the right side there, and then some light browns and a little bit darker for a brown bunny on the left. And I've colored the ears with some pinks. I'm making a pink bow for my basket. And then I've used some yellows for the basket. And I like to use kind of orangey yellows more than the bright yellows. I'm going to color some little chicks here. I've got more chicks than I'm actually going to use, but you can never have too many chicks. And then I'm going to color the line of Easter eggs. And you can see I have another line of Easter eggs there as well. I colored both. One I'm going to cut apart and just use pieces of it for the two panels that slide out. So I've got my double slider surprise dies here, and I'm using Spiffy Speckles. I'm going to use the petite paper pack for the grass, and then I use some large sheets for my panels and my pocket that my double slider is going to go into. So you can see there I have two of the panel pieces, I guess, cards, cut out of white cardstock and blue. I'm going to layer those together. I have one green one I'm going to cut the grass from, and then I've used the purple Spiffy Speckles for the pocket pieces. So I just layer the blue Spiffy Speckles onto a piece of white cardstock cut with that same panel, and that just gives it a little more stability because you're going to be pulling these in and out, and I just feel like the cardstock, because it's a little stiffer, is easier to pull in and out than the pattern paper would be. So that's all I'm doing here, using a little bit of liquid glue to just layer these two together and make them one nice stiff panel. And now that one green one I cut, I'm going to cut grass from both sides of it so that I can put it along the bottom of these two blue panels that I've made. And then the stitching will line up on the bottom, and you'll have that nice finished edge that matches. So I'm just putting them lined up together to kind of get them the same height. And then I'll just use liquid glue again and layer this on the bottom of each of those panels. I'm going to hold off on decorating it any more than just the grass until I have my double slider mechanism put together completely. That way I can get the spacing of the images correct. But since the grass goes all the way across, I'm going to go ahead and put that piece on. So now I'm cutting the notches just off one of the panels, and you can see I've already got one cut there. And all you do is take that notch die piece, line it up with the edge, hold it in place with some tape, and it'll cut out the notch with that nice little stitch detail as well. I only did it on one because I don't feel like I need it on the back side because I'm going to be putting this whole mechanism on a card base, so you're never going to see the back side to need the notches anyways. This green piece of Spiffy Speckles paper I cut with the same die as that pocket there, just the bottom piece of it. So it's got the stitching detail on each side, and then I'm cutting the grass, so that'll go along the bottom of the pocket. I'm going to put that on after I've assembled everything though. This way I don't have to worry about which is the top and which is the bottom. I'll already have that figured out, and I won't have to worry about getting it upside down because I have done that before. So I'm just folding those flaps in and creasing them with my bone folder. And then I'm going to take the 1/8 inch double-sided tape, and I'm going to put tape on the outside of each of those flaps on both pieces. Now I can work on the mechanism on the inside as well. This is the track, and I've just cut it from white cardstock. And then you're going to also take that 1/8 inch tape and you're going to put a piece of it on the top and the bottom on both sides of this track. So that's 4 pieces total. Top and bottom, flip it over, do the same thing on the top and bottom on the other side. Now once you have all that tape in place, I've got a piece of a Target shopping bag here. It's cut at 2 1/4 inches wide. It's a lot longer than I need, but this is how my pieces are going to slide. I'm going to take another piece of that 1/8 inch tape and just put it on the end of my bag. And then this is going to wrap around my track. So I'm just going to lay that underneath, wrap the front around to where my tape is sticking up. I can pull off the liner. I'm just making sure I kind of have it straight in there. And then I can pull the rest of the bag over top and just lay it over onto there. I don't want it to be too tight, but I do not want it to be too loose. So you want to make sure it's kind of pulled, but not so tight it's not going to move. But if it's loose, the panels won't slide very well. And then I can just cut off the excess plastic bag that I have there that's past that tape. So I'm sliding this to the left side. There's where my seam is. And I'm going to take another piece of that tape and put it right on top of the seam. This is where one of my panels is going to stick. And then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put a piece in the same spot on the other side. So now when you look at it, you've got one on the left and one on the right, but one's on the front and one's on the back. So you want them on opposite ends, front and back. And this is where your panels are going to stick. So I can go ahead and pull off that liner tape. And then I'm going to line up the edge of this card with the edge of the track and just stick it down. Now I'm going to flip it over. This is the back side. Just wanted to make sure it moved and I was doing it correctly. So this is the back side. So the key here is you want to make sure you flip over your panel to the back side and line it up on the same edge. So you want to make sure all your colors are facing down at this point and all you're seeing is the white back. So once those are stuck down there, you can see how that mechanism slides back and forth. So now to create my pocket, I'm going to pull off that liner paper on one of these pieces of the pocket, and then I can just stick the two together. And I'm using my grid mat to help make sure that they're straight. And then now I can put my track inside my pocket. So you want to pull off that liner tape on the back side. And then you're just going to line it up right side up in that pocket. Now, granted, if I had done it the other way, I don't have the grass on the outside yet, so it would have been okay actually. So once that's stuck down, you want to make sure that it slides. And then I'm actually going to put a stopper in here because I don't want these pieces to go the whole way. So I've just cut the stopper piece from the die set just from some white cardstock. And to put a stopper in, all you have to do is pull off that liner tape on those top pieces that we haven't pulled it off yet, revealing that sticky. And then you pull your panels out as far as you want them, which is where I have them, and then you're going to tuck this underneath. So that panel's not going to go any further than that piece of cardstock, and that can just stick to the top and bottom of the track. So now those panels will only come out that far. So I can complete this by folding over that flap. It's going to stick to the track, but I've got a piece of adhesive on the flap that this one can stick down to, and then the top of that track will stick to the inside of the front of that pocket. So now that I've got all that assembled, I can start to decorate. So I'm going to take that grass that I cut earlier, and I'm going to put that along the bottom. And you can see here why I kind of waited to make sure that I had it right. Just one less thing to think about. But the grass on the other panels needed to be put on first because they tuck inside. Now I'm going to put the little pull tabs. I've cut these from the pink colored spiffy speckles with one of the pull tab dies that's in the set. I like this one. It has the little stitch detail, so it matches pretty well with the stitch detail on the pocket. And I'm using my grid mat to kind of get it centered. And I just put a little bit of liquid glue on the circular part of that tab, and then I'm going to have it hang out the side. So now that I've got all that on there, I'm going to start to assemble. So I pulled my panels out as far as they can go, so now I can see where I can put the placement of those rabbits. And then for the center, I like this little guy. He's popping out of the basket. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in the basket so I know I've got him in the right place. And I'm also going to go ahead and put the bow on my basket so this whole piece is already assembled. And then I'm going to put a sentiment banner behind him. So what I did was I kind of placed him already on the banner, just a little bit of glue, so it's already stuck behind him. So this all becomes one piece. And I'm just making sure I've got it straight here. Making sure he's centered. That's why I've got it sort of lined up with the card right above it. And then now I'm taking my Happy Easter sentiment from that set. I'm actually going to cut it in half with my scissors. Don't worry, it will go back together. But I'm making it two pieces so that I can put Happy on one side of the basket and Easter on the other, and then have a void in the middle where that bunny in that basket is. So I'm going to be stamping that in some narwhal ink. Some narwhal ink, and I just went with this dark gray ink instead of the black because this card has a lot of soft colors in it, and I just felt like a bold black sentiment would just stand out almost too much. So I really like how this gray sort of blends in with all the pastels that I have going on this card already. So now that I've got that sentiment stamped, I can just put that on my front panel. Here's where I'm using that line of Easter eggs. It's just a really easy way just to fill the whole front with eggs. And then I can add my chocolate rabbit and my little chicken that I've got here to sort of balance out my front panel. And then you can see here, I'm taking that other line of eggs that I colored and I'm just cutting them apart so that I've got some little bunches of grass and eggs that matches the eggs that I have on the front, but now I just have smaller pieces that fit well on my panels. Now I'm making sure you know, I use foam dots a lot, but you don't want to do that on a double slider like this. You need everything to be flat on those panels so that it slides in and out. Now I'm just using some really strong adhesive, and I've just got a plain white card base here, and I'm just going to center that up in the middle of the card base. I feel like there's a lot going on in this double slider that I don't need a pattern paper to add to it. I like the white. I think it makes the rest of it stand out nicely. And then here is my finished card. I just think it's so fun, and I love the colors. It's perfect for Easter. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing day. Bye.